Power does not ask for understanding. It does not beg for explanation. The moment you explain yourself, you place your neck beneath the knife of judgment. You concede the throne of perception to others, and in their hands, truth becomes a weapon forged, not in what you did, but in what they need you to be. A leader who explains himself seeks absolution, and in that plea, he reveals the one thing that cannot be forgiven in politics: weakness. People do not want your honesty. They want your certainty. They want a figure who does not blink, who does not bleed, who does not waver beneath the weight of his own actions. The moment you offer reasons, justifications, apologies, you admit, if not guilt, then doubt, and doubt spreads. It infects the ranks, erodes the walls, invites the wolves. Understand this. In the theater of leadership, appearances are more powerful than intentions. Truth is secondary to control. Once you give the audience a backstage pass, they will never again believe in the illusion. You must learn to let the silence speak. Let the ambiguity work for you. Mystery is not confusion, it is dominance in disguise. The public is not loyal to men who ask to be understood. They are loyal to those who define the terms of reality, those who seem to move by an inner compass, immune to approval. The more you explain, the more you shrink. The more you justify, the more you confirm the premise of accusation. Every defense is a subtle admission of fear. Fear, once smelled, cannot be unsmelled. There is no virtue in being transparent if transparency gives your enemies the map to your destruction. The desire to be seen clearly is a disease of the ego. You must be content with being misunderstood, even hated, if that is what power demands. The tiger does not explain why it hunts. The storm does not justify its violence. Why should you? Silence is a shield. Ambiguity is a weapon. Never clarify what you can let remain obscure. Let them guess. Let them project. Let them twist themselves in speculation while you move, undistracted beneath the surface. The ruler who survives is not the one who convinces others of his goodness, but the one who ensures his enemies never see the blade before it strikes. If you must speak, speak to mislead. If you must explain, do so only when it serves a greater trap, but never, ever explain as a reflex. That is for those who believe power flows from being liked. It does not. It flows from being feared, respected, obeyed. To lead is to accept that your image will never belong to you. It will be warped, weaponized, worshipped, desecrated. That is the tax. But you must not chase the shifting affections of the crowd. You must not answer to every rumor, every whisper, every falsehood. Let the story move as it will. Only ensure that you still write the ending. The need to be understood is the need to be loved, and the need to be loved is the death of command. Leadership is not affection. It is architecture. It is control. Love is unstable. It is volatile. Love turns to hate with a single headline, a single scandal, a single failure to meet the impossible standards it once imposed. But fear endures. Let them misunderstand you. Let them speak in shadows. Let the narrative shift. So long as you hold the reins of consequence, the story bends back to you. The man who explains himself becomes the man who defends himself. And the man who defends himself has already lost the throne, not by force, but by surrendering the illusion of invincibility. Be the storm, be the shadow behind the throne, be the sovereign who never stoops to plead. In power, explanations are not bridges, they are nooses. Never explain yourself. It's a trap. The world does not crave your truth. It craves the myth you embody. The myth is stronger than the man, because it cannot bleed, it cannot falter, it cannot be cornered with questions. To lead is to become untouchable, to sever the veins that run between your private doubts and the public gaze. Every word you offer to justify yourself is a crack in the armor, and the mob, whether clothed in democracy or in tyranny, pours its fingers into those cracks until the whole edifice collapses. To survive, you must let your silence loom larger than any accusation, your presence heavier than any rumor. You must understand that power lives not in words but in outcomes, not in apologies but in results. The ruler who speaks too much begins to sound like a supplicant, and no one fears a supplicant. The mind of the people is shallow, but its tides are strong. One moment they raise you as a savior, the next they drag you down as a villain. Do not tether yourself to their approval, for it is as fickle as the wind on open seas. Anchor yourself in necessity alone. Appear serene while the storms rage. Let others scream their innocence to the skies while you move in silence, rearranging the pieces on the board. A man who needs to explain himself is already under siege. He is no longer the architect. He has become the accused. And in politics, to stand accused is to have already lost half the battle. The rest is only a matter of time. You must think in terms of predators, not priests. A predator does not waste time convincing its prey that the hunt is justified. It simply moves, swift and merciless, because hesitation is the only sin in the natural order. Explanations are hesitation. They are the scent of blood in the water. They embolden those who wait for your stumble. Power is not sustained by honesty. It is sustained by mastery. You must master your words as you master your enemies. Speak less. Reveal less. Let your face become a mask so fixed that no one can tell whether it hides a saint or a monster. It is the mask they fear, not the man beneath. To govern is to accept that betrayal is a constant, loyalty, a temporary arrangement, and trust a tool more dangerous to the wielder than the target. The ruler who reveals his heart invites the dagger. The ruler who stands inscrutable forces all factions to hesitate. Let them wonder what you know, what you intend, what you are willing to do. Fear grows in the void between what they suspect and what they can prove. That void is your kingdom. Never illuminate it. Never offer closure. Those who demand explanations do not seek understanding. They seek weakness, an admission, a foothold. Give them nothing. The machinery of power is indifferent to the sentiments of men. It is cold, grinding, relentless. To survive within it, you must cut away the softness of the soul, the yearning to be seen as good, noble, or pure. These are chains that your enemies will gladly fasten tighter each time you beg for their recognition. They will not remember your words. They will only remember that you spoke when silence would have terrified them. It is better to be judged a villain in silence than to be judged a fool in protest. In silence, you retain the possibility of strength. In protest, you prove that you are already on trial. The world is not moved by fairness. It is moved by force, cunning, and timing. Those who lead without understanding this are devoured by those who do. And yet, those who understand it too late discover that their explanations, their clarifications, their endless justifications were not acts of virtue but nails in their own coffin. They mistook words for power, forgetting that words, once spoken, belong to the mob. They are twisted, reshaped, and hurled back with poison on their tips. Control your tongue, and you control the narrative. Explain yourself, and you hand the narrative to your enemies. Never explain yourself. Let your silence harden into legend. Let them imagine the worst and fear that it might be true. Let your deeds speak where your words would only tangle you in their traps. The game is not won by those who are loved. It is won by those who are necessary, and necessity does not beg, it commands. You must walk as if the ground itself were waiting to swallow you should you falter. There can be no faltering, no apologies, no appeals, only action and the mask that never cracks. Those who survive in power are not those who are most just, but those who are most untouchable, and untouchable men do not explain. They endure, they advance, they strike. Every time a ruler reaches for explanation, he betrays a simple truth. He has placed his fate in the hands of those he should command. Power is not a conversation. It is a monologue, delivered not with words but with decisive action. To explain is to negotiate, and negotiation signals parity. The sovereign cannot afford parity. He must stand apart, above, untouchable in the hierarchy of fear and reverence. To explain yourself is to confess that you care how others judge you. That concern is fatal. It is the first crack in the wall, the first invitation for the termites to come and hollow out the foundation. The architecture of command does not tolerate such cracks. Build in stone, not in soft clay. You will be hated no matter what you do. Even your virtues will be twisted into vices. Your generosity will be called bribery. Your justice will be called cruelty. Your silence, arrogance. Your speech, deceit. It does not matter. What matters is that you are the axis around which the machinery turns. If they cannot love you, let them fear to disobey. If they will not follow willingly, make it unthinkable for them to oppose. Those who seek to be understood are seeking affection in a world where affection is a weapon wielded by the weak to chain the strong. Consider the fate of those who have ruled before you. The kings dragged from palaces, stripped and mocked before the mob they once fed. The presidents toppled not by force, but by words. A narrative of corruption, of failure, of betrayal, woven from half-truths and repeated until the man himself began to believe it. They thought they could argue with the tide. They thought they could plead their case. They believed that if they explained their decisions, the people would forgive the necessary evils, the hidden compromises, the betrayals done in service of stability. But the people do not forgive necessity. They forgive nothing. They only obey strength. The need to justify is the last refuge of the naive. Power is not justified. It is asserted, or it is lost. Nature does not explain the predator to the prey. It does not tell the mouse why the hawk descends. The hawk's existence is its own explanation. So too with the sovereign. You are the force that holds chaos at bay. That is enough. Let others chatter about morality, about transparency, about the right to know. These are chains they forge to bind you, and they will smile as they fasten them to your wrists. Break them before they tighten. Every word you speak is a weapon for someone else to wield. In silence, you are ungraspable, formless. They can curse you, but they cannot pin you down. They can plot, but they cannot anticipate. Explanation is a map of your mind, and to share it is to arm your adversaries. The wise ruler keeps his map secret, even from his allies, especially from his allies. For allies today may become rivals tomorrow, and the one who knows how you think knows how to undo you. Trust no one with your full mind, not your ministers, not your generals, not even yourself. Doubt even your own instincts until necessity leaves you no choice but to act. And when you act, act without hesitation, without preamble, without explanation. The theater of power demands masks. You may despise deception, but you cannot rule without it. Truth is too raw for the masses. It terrifies them, offends them, drives them to madness. They demand fables to calm their fears. Let them have their fables, but never believe you owe them your soul. The sovereign is not a confessor. He is not there to soothe the anxieties of the governed. He is there to ensure that the state endures, even if that endurance requires blood, silence, and shadows. Never mistake kindness for loyalty. Gratitude fades. Fear endures. You may think that by explaining your motives, you will win loyalty. You will not. You will win contempt. They will see you as a man trying to escape responsibility, a man unwilling to bear the solitude of command. True loyalty comes not from understanding, but from necessity. Let them depend on you so completely that they cannot imagine a world where you do not rule. Let them fear the collapse that would follow your absence more than they fear your hand. That is the iron bond. The ruler's solitude is his only true companion. You cannot share it. You cannot shed it. You cannot ease it by making others understand you. Power isolates because it must. You are not one of them. You cannot be. The moment you descend to their level, the illusion of superiority shatters, and with it, the structure of obedience. Remain aloof. Remain enigmatic. Let them talk about you in whispers. Let them speculate. Let them fear what you might do next. It is not love that keeps a dagger sheathed. It is uncertainty. And when you must strike, strike without warning, without explanation, without hesitation. The blow that is explained in advance is the blow that can be deflected. The blow that falls from nowhere changes the world. Do not announce your plans. Do not justify your actions. Let the result speak, and let it speak with finality. You were not chosen to be understood. You were chosen to rule. The two are not the same. To rule is to carry the burden of necessity, the cold calculus of survival. If they curse you for it, so be it. History does not remember those who were beloved but powerless. It remembers those who were feared and effective. The sovereign's strength is not in his capacity to persuade, but in his capacity to impose. Persuasion is a luxury for the weak, for those who cannot act without permission, for those who mistake consensus for control. But the sovereign who rules by necessity understands this. The will to command cannot be diluted in the waters of public opinion. The moment you lower yourself to justify, you admit that your power is on loan. That admission, even if whispered, even if unintended, seeps into the minds of all who watch. They begin to imagine a world without you, and imagination is the first step to rebellion. Power is not sustained by being good. It is sustained by being inevitable. If you wish to be remembered, do not seek to be loved. Seek instead to be feared for your absence, for what chaos would unfold should your hand be withdrawn. This is the secret of permanence, not affection, but indispensability. You cannot plead for this. You cannot explain your way into it. You must construct it deliberately, brick by brick, as a fortress without doors. The man who explains himself is like a general who reveals his strategy before the battle. He disarms himself, he exposes his flanks, and his enemies, who before could only guess, now move with certainty to encircle him. The sovereign's mind must be a black box. Nothing enters, nothing escapes. Let them see the results of your decisions, never the gears that turn to produce them. Mystery is not a weakness. It is an instrument of domination. When they cannot read you, they cannot prepare for you. When they cannot prepare, they hesitate, and hesitation is the fertile soil where your power grows. In this theater of appearances, perception is reality. To explain is to lose control of perception. The moment you speak in your own defense, you grant the accusation legitimacy. You confirm there is something to explain. The wise ruler refuses this trap. He does not defend, he does not protest, he does not lower himself to meet the mob on its terms. He acts and leaves others to argue over the meaning of his actions. Silence, in the mouth of a ruler, is not emptiness, it is an assertion of dominance. It says, I do not answer to you. You will be told that transparency breeds trust. This is a fable for children and slaves. Trust is not the foundation of rule. Fear and dependence are. Even loyalty, that fragile flower, blooms not from understanding but from necessity. Those who serve you out of love may turn against you when their love sours, as it always does. But those who serve you because they cannot survive without you have no choice but to remain faithful. Build their dependence carefully. Bind their fortunes to your own. Make it clear, without saying a word, that your fall would be their ruin. This is loyalty worth having. The ruler walks alone, not because he prefers solitude, but because it is the only path that ensures survival. You cannot share the burden of power without weakening it. You cannot confess your doubts without multiplying them. You cannot seek to be understood without inviting betrayal. Every confidant is a potential conspirator. Every explanation a potential weapon in your enemy's hand. Keep your circle tight, your counsel tighter, your thoughts impenetrable. Those who fail to grasp this will find themselves in exile if they are lucky. More often, they find themselves beneath the blade, their names spat out as curses by the very people they once served. History is littered with rulers who believed their honesty would save them. It never does. The people care less for your integrity than for their own security. The moment they sense you are no longer capable of protecting them, or worse, that you require their forgiveness, they will discard you. Never apologize. Never explain. Let your victories justify themselves, and your failures vanish in silence. If you must speak, let it be to misdirect, to confuse, to set traps for those who would challenge you, but never speak to soothe. Soothing belongs to healers, not to rulers. You are not here to heal the public. You are here to command it, to shape it, to wield it as a blade against chaos. In this there is a cruelty, but it is the cruelty of survival, and survival is the first law. To rule is not to live in comfort. It is to live in permanent vigilance, with your hand on the reins and your eye on every horizon. Even in victory, you must assume betrayal waits in the shadows. Even among allies, you must assume ambition stirs in their hearts. Do not imagine you will be spared because you meant well. Meaning well is irrelevant. The machinery of the state does not run on intentions. It runs on force, on calculation, on fear. Those who forget this are devoured by those who remember it. The sovereign who survives understands that power is not a steady flame, but a storm he must command, without ever letting the winds see him sway. The illusion of steadiness is more important than steadiness itself. To explain yourself is to reveal the tremor in your hand, the uncertainty in your heart. And men do not follow a hand that trembles. They do not obey a voice that wavers. They may listen for a time, they may pretend to understand, but deep within they begin to measure your weakness, and once they have measured it, they will exploit it. Never give them that measure. Never show the weight you carry, no matter how heavy. There is no glory in burden sharing for those who sit upon thrones. The man who rules must absorb all fears into himself and project only inevitability. The more you explain, the more you expose that you too are searching for permission, for validation. But a ruler who needs permission is no ruler at all. He is a hostage to the whims of others, a puppet dressed in a crown. Consider how quickly the crowd turns. They shout your name in adoration today, yet tomorrow, with a single rumor, they will curse you with equal fervor. They will demand an account of your deeds, as though you were their servant. And if you are foolish enough to give that account, to lay yourself bare before their judgment, they will not thank you. They will tear you apart, all the same. Explanation does not buy mercy. It feeds the hunger of those who already circle you like wolves. Better to starve them. Better to become an enigma they cannot digest. Let them argue among themselves about your motives. Let them fight over what you might do next. Their uncertainty is your shield. Their confusion is your power. Do not grant them clarity. Clarity is a luxury that belongs to poets and philosophers, not to those who command men and states. You will be told that humanity demands transparency, that trust requires truth. These are comforting lies spread by those who have never ruled, by those who wish to weaken those who do. The truth is that men crave order more than honesty. They crave strength more than sympathy. And the ruler who satisfies these cravings will be obeyed, no matter how opaque, no matter how feared. If you must speak, speak not to explain, but to dominate. Words, when used, should be hammers, not confessions. When you issue commands, let them be final. When you issue decrees, let them allow no space for argument. To explain yourself is to place yourself at the same level as those you command. You strip away the divine distance that separates ruler from subject, master from servant, lion from sheep. You must never forget. Politics is not a dialogue. It is not a round table of equals. It is a battlefield. Every concession, every justification, every attempt to show your human side is a breach in your fortifications. And in that breach, the forces that resent you will pour in. They will not rest until you are humbled, broken, and cast down as a cautionary tale for whoever dares to take your place. Think of power not as a jewel to be admired, but as a fortress to be defended. You cannot defend a fortress by opening the gates and explaining to every visitor why you built its walls. The walls exist precisely because the outside world is filled with enemies. Do not be ashamed of those walls. Strengthen them. Hide behind them when you must. And from time to time, let the crowd hear the clash of your sword on stone, a reminder that within those walls, you are sharpening your will. Even your silence can be a weapon. In silence, you force others to fill the void with their fears. They will imagine your plans to be darker than they are, your resolve to be harder than it is. Let them imagine. It is better to be feared for things you have not done than to be loved for virtues you do not possess. The sovereign is not a man like other men. He cannot afford to be. He is an idea draped in flesh, a symbol forged from necessity. and necessity cares nothing for your longing to be understood. That longing is a relic of your former self, the self that lived before power took root in your veins and made you something else. Crush that longing, let it die. Only then will you command as you must. And when the day comes that you are betrayed, and that day will come, for betrayal is as inevitable as the dawn, you will not plead your case like a man on trial. You will not waste breath explaining why you trusted, why you acted, why you did what had to be done. You will act again. And those who thought they had cornered, you will discover too late that you never left the battlefield, that every move they made was anticipated, that every betrayal was only another piece in your design. The sovereign does not explain. He endures. He survives. He outlasts. Power does not whisper apologies. It does not kneel. It does not explain. Power simply is, or it is nothing. When the last hour comes and the crowds gather, some with praise on their tongues, others with knives in their hands, you will understand that to rule was never to be loved, never to be understood, never to be absolved. It was to carry the unbearable weight of necessity, to walk barefoot across the blades of ambition and betrayal, to become the axis around which chaos reluctantly turned. There will be no comfort waiting for you at the end, no choir singing your virtues, no clean narrative to soothe your conscience. There will only be silence. And in that silence, one final truth will burn itself into your soul. You endured because you refused to explain. You survived because you refused to bow. You became untouchable because you embraced the solitude that others fled. The rulers who sought love are gone. The rulers who sought to be understood are dust. Their words are forgotten. Their apologies meant nothing. But you remain, because you never explained yourself, and you never fell into their trap.